based on what I see on my screen, I think we can, let's see, what time is it, 1:30. We still have
Yeah.
a couple more individuals that I'm
Okay.
looking for name-wise.
No
So,
worries. We have time. We can say hello to everybody. Hey, David, how's it? Troy, Aaron, Lois, how's it, everybody?
I'm new
Hi,
to this
Ian.
group.
How's it, Ian?
Good seeing you guys. Hey, Stacy,
Hi,
Oh, hey,
Stacy.
how's it?
hey, Ian. I just saw the notification pop up on my phone. 2:30. The governor's gonna have another press conference.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Yep.
Sounds like
Yep.
getting ready.
Yeah. Shutdowns or
Yeah.
whatever else is
Right.
gonna come. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aloha,
Yep.
Kamala. Long time no see.
I was just trying to type and text you at the same time. Good to see you as well, Stacy.
Kaala did a great briefing for the WDC, the broader board.
Yes.
Yes, he did.
A rock
that was-
star.
Thank you.
He's a
Yeah, that
rock
was
Thank you.
really good.
That was
I
good
felt
fun.
Yeah. He was, I could feel the pressure, like the time, like go faster, go faster.
Yeah. It really is. This is a straight genetic issue that I've been having for my whole life. You can't give me 20 minutes and I have this world-shattering kind of problem, and you got 20 minutes.
You get 20 minutes, bro.
Yeah.
Fix it all in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Just drop all that good knowledge and insight. So, hey, Steve, how's it? And is that Jason Ito?
Oh.
Something's going on. Hello.
I like your new look, Ian. You look real like I don't know, Zen kind of.
Yeah, I know. I just been, losing all my hair, so I'm kind of growing it down here. So yeah, I just saw some pictures 5 years ago. Wow, I actually had more hair. Yeah, I really did.
Wow. I could grow one of those if my life depended on it.
I know mine is barely, there. So yeah. Everyone looks great. Good to see everyone. It's been a while, so I want to thank Duke for helping to get this going and organizing and bringing us all together. It's been a while.
it has, yeah.
So please take a look at as we wait for some other folks to join us. Duke had sent out the minutes from the last meeting from February 18th, 2020, which seems like a lifetime ago in a way, right? Think about that. That's pre-COVID. And then we also have our final agenda, our agenda for today. And then please prepare to make some announcements make some quick shares at the end about what's going on in your area and things the broader group should be aware of. And anything we can do to support the work that you're doing. So
I need
Yeah,
$2 billion, Ian. I need $2 billion.
that's why you're there, Stacy. You're the budget chief. Make it happen. Print some money. Oh yeah, we can't print money, but
I almost spit out my coffee. Can you just warn me before you say those kind of statements next time? Get all over my keyboard.
If
I
Ian's
was
gonna
gonna
ask what I
say
need,
Kaala.
$2 billion.
just two.
Not 3, 2. Oh, see? It's already, it's not 3, it's 2.
Hey, Stacy, I'll help you out and take off a couple of days a month and not get paid. How about that?
Yeah.
See?
You and 100,000 other people, and then maybe we'll break even.
It just can't be me. Okay, I guess I haven't looked at my pay stub lately. Okay.
Yeah. But that's good. Duke is stepping forward. That's what everybody,
There's a couple individuals I was expecting, but then there's a individual too that I wasn't expecting. So if you want, Ian, it's 1:35. If you want to start, and others they can just join in.
Okay.
Josiah should be joining us too, Ian.
Who?
Josiah.
Okay.
Oh,
great.
okay. Awesome. Fantastic. Okay, so shall we kick off August 18th, 2020? This is the Youth Service Committee meeting for the State of Hawaii Workforce Development Council. This is the Youth Service group. Welcome, everybody. I'm Ian Kitajima, your co-chair, along with Winona Whitman, who's here as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And I wanted to thank, again, Duke for helping us to organize. But I'm going to throw it over to Duke to kind of kick us off because there are some legal requirements I think we need to go through.
Good afternoon. Again, this is Duke for, I think everybody knows who I am. I know there was going to be a couple of new names I didn't recognize, but anyways, just in case, I'm Mark Oles on the email, but I go by Duke Oles. You can call me Mark or Duke, it doesn't matter. I'm a member on the staff of the Workforce Development Council, and I'm the WDC Workforce Development Council staff liaison to the Youth Services Committee. So due to this being a virtual meeting and an official committee of the Workforce Development Council, we do have to take attendance, and because it's virtual, I'll do a roll call. So please acknowledge when I say your name, and if you just can say here or present. And for those I don't call, after I finish the last name, if you could just announce yourself and I'll note your attendance down. So Stacy Ferreira. Stacy's here, if you can say yes or no.
Yes.
Or yes or present, here or present.
Present.
Lois Hamaguchi.
Present.
Carla Hauser. Chair Ian Kitojima.
Here.
David Miyashiro.
Present.
Bruce Oliveira. Danny Ruiz.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Steve Sue.
Here, present and excited.
Right, okay. Nisa Tokunaga.
Present.
Vice Chair Winona Whitman.
Present.
Danny Wyatt. Aaron Yagi. And I see Jason there.
Present.
That's Aaron, right? Okay.
Aaron
And,
with the Hello Kitty background.
right. So Jason Ito.
I'm here. Thanks.
Okay, great. Just making sure. I'm actually, my screen is off now, so I'm looking at the names. Anybody else? Staff Jeannie Ota. I see you're here too. Jeannie is on the WDC staff, my colleague. She'll be lending subject matter expertise. Is Allison on yet? Allison, my supervisor, will join in. She's on another call right now. She'll join in afterwards. Oh, and Josiah. Hi, Josiah. How you doing? I just noticed your name pop up.
Aloha, everybody. How's it?
Aloha, welcome. Great.
How's it, brother?
Okay.
Hey, Duke.
So,
this is Troy. I'm here.
oh, right.
yeah, Troy's
Troy.
here too. Yeah.
Right on, Troy. Okay.
Thank you, Troy.
Anybody else that I didn't call? If not, Ian, we have
Okay.
we can proceed. We have well enough attendees to take
Thank
care of
you.
any voting matters.
Thank you. We may have one of the biggest committees.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was on purpose, right? Right, Winona?
Yes, it was.
So, and just so everyone knows, I mean, it is really to bring all the folks who really work with our youth in Hawaii, especially around workforce development. So that's why all of you are invited. Our connection is your connection back to our youth and education and workforce. So that's why you've been invited, and thank you for sticking with us. So I'd like to please take a look at the minutes from February 18th, 2020. And please take a look, review them. We had our meeting at the American Job Center on Dillingham at the time. So please make sure if you can remember you were present or not. Please take a look at the minutes. And then if somebody can make a motion to accept the minutes when you're ready.
And I'll make a motion.
Okay, moved by Stacy. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Nisa, fantastic. Please take a look. Any additions, corrections, changes, deletions to the minutes? If none, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Okay, minutes accepted. Thank you, everybody. We're gonna move on to Workforce Development Council update. Is this gonna be by Allison, Duke, or will you be?
I'll be
Be providing?
providing
Okay.
the update. Yeah. So,
Perfect. Thank you.
again, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. It's good to see a lot of familiar faces, and I'm glad you're all back, and I'm eager to move with all of you going forward with fantastic ideas and proposals, all in the interest of benefiting and preparing our youth for careers and jobs leading to self-sufficiency. So it's been 6 months. February was our last committee meetings. Now there were a couple of smaller group meetings, HUI meetings, huddles going on from February. So I know there were some subcommittee level meetings, but what I'd like to do at this time is bring everybody up to speed on where we're at and where we're going, and that will be the focus of our discussion for today's meeting. It has been 6 months since we last met, and needless to say, a lot has happened in both our professional and personal lives. I, for one, just to share with you, experienced 4 months directly supporting the unemployment insurance division at the convention center. A bunch of state employee volunteers and a few retirees from unemployment insurance, helping over 200,000 unemployment insurance claimants. What a learning experience that was for me. And I rolled back into the office full time latter part of July. So let's catch up. Michelle, if you can bring up the slide. Thank you. So this is the only slide I'll be briefing you. It's a quad slide, so I'll brief starting in the upper left quadrant and we'll move counterclockwise. So how did we get to this point where we're at right now in August? Because the last time we met as a committee was in February. Well, let's go back to last year in October. Was my first meeting with this committee. My predecessor had gone to greener pastures. And at that meeting, we were introduced to the Trauma Informed Assessment Early Intervention Act. What was it, Act 271? And there was a presentation provided by Josiah and Stacy. And we were also introduced to the concept of the entrepreneurial skills training, both introduced as proposals for a future budget plan. Then our next meeting, November 6th, we actually voted on a budget plan of $75,000 to stand up and implement the trauma informed assessment, entrepreneur skills, and also there's another initiative, work experience and preparing you for post-secondary training and education. So that budget was, we made a recommendation to forward to the Finance Committee of the Workforce Development Council for them to approve, and that was $75,000. And then the next time we met was in February, and at that meeting, I provided you confirmation to the committee that the budget was approved by the full council. And then we went ahead at that meeting and formed HUIs or smaller subcommittees, working groups, to focus on each of those initiatives that I just mentioned: trauma-informed assessment, entrepreneur skills, and work experience. And we decided as a group that the team leader of those groups would oversee the group's collaboration in developing a full-on detailed plan and the implementation of that plan of the particular initiative that the budget plan supported. So the budget plan supported X amount of dollars for each of those initiatives, and there were going to be 3 groups that we stood up that will see the full development of that plan. So now here we are 6 months later. We had to cancel 2 scheduled meetings from between February and now. So this is where we're at, and it's our first virtual meeting. And what we like to do is make this meeting really a discussion of going forward. So the budget, the next quadrant. So the budget for the trauma-informed assessment and its implementation is $40,000. Work experience transition to post-secondary education and training is $30,000. Entrepreneurial skills training is $50,000 for a total of $120,000. Now, I already mentioned, you see the footnotes there that the original budget that was approved was $75,000. So we were fortunate to receive additional funds to add more meat and flexibility to each of these initiatives for a couple of reasons. One was the under expenditure that occurred during those months and lead up of the shutdown of the state. So that also affected how we spent money at our council here. And what was the other reason? I can't, there was another reason too. But anyways, we're fortunate enough to have a budget of $120,000 now. Going to the third quadrant. So the 3 youth initiatives are trauma-informed assessment. Now, what I put down there are 3 bullets that I recall in our previous meeting that the focus of this initiative and the utilization of the funds would be staff training, early intervention, trauma screening, aftercare process development. For the work experience transition to post-secondary education training, nothing detail has been planned or determined yet, and entrepreneurial skills training. Now, entrepreneurial skills training, I didn't have enough room to kind of explicate a little bit more details on what's going on there, but Steve Sue has really, jumped off and got the ball rolling. I mean, right after, soon after the February meeting, I think Steve had a couple of virtual meetings, and he also had a meeting with myself and my supervisor, Allison, to go over the details of his initiative. So those are the 3 initiatives that's covered by the $120,000. I didn't mention, but the funds need to be expended by June 2021. Now, moving on to the last quadrant going forward. So just for your situational awareness, our next 2 committee meetings are October 20th, December 15th. And what we're looking forward today to start discussing is, and what the subcommittee should be aware of, is detailing the framework, tasks, coordinating instructions, resources, timeline, costs, itemized costs, as you develop your plan more fully. And just remember that everything needs to have a workforce development relevance to the final plan. Now, I would expect that each of the subcommittees, the WHOIs, will hold their own meetings and huddles outside of the committee meetings, and you folks would meet as required and needed. And then at the committee meetings, we will expect an update from each of the subcommittees or the teams. Now, related but also different is the last bullet: plan for follow-on budget, a follow-on budget plan. What that means is this: as a secondary priority, I want you to focus on getting the 3 initiatives in place, but you could also start thinking about and preparing and leaning forward for the availability of additional future funds for more or for youth initiatives, either related to the first initiative here or something completely different. So that's just an FYI, because I'm hearing that there are funds, or looks like there may be funds available, but nothing's guaranteed at this point or committed. So it's just something for you to just be aware of. With that being said, all of that, are there any questions as it relates to the information put out on this chart? If not, then I'll have Ian move us to our next agenda item. But if there's any specific questions as it relates to this.
Would it be?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Duke.
No, Ian. I was just gonna say, here are no questions. We can move on to the agenda. But if you had a question, Ian, or a
I
comment.
was just going to ask really quickly the heads of those three different initiatives to just share a little bit again about their vision of what we should be thinking about or planning for, and what their committees are doing. So I don't know, Steve, maybe we could kick off with the entrepreneur skills training part, and if you can kind of give everybody a kind of a refresher, especially for folks who are watching online.
Yeah, sure, of course. So yeah, we had gone down this road 6 months ago, and I was fortunate enough to have the time to write a plan, which actually kind of telescoped to the other two categories, so that we were trying to connect them all, so that there would sort of be this pathway and life cycle between trauma-informed work experience and entrepreneurship. With respect to the entrepreneur hui, the plan is to create a pilot program at Youth Services Center at Dillingham for high school students, and the goal is to teach them over the course of, I think it was 4 months, 4 separate entrepreneurial tracks that are relevant to the vast number of kids on this island. So we're not necessarily aiming at the super high-tech stuff. We want more practical stuff like, you know, maker products, construction industry, that sort of thing. It's more real to them at those centers. The good news is that we've been making great strides with our learning management system online, and so I think what we're going to do is end up throwing that in, so we'll be able to put these skills and experiences onto that platform. And part of the idea of the pilot was to not only, you know, obviously make a great program initially and test it and really get the kinks out of it, but following that, our goal is to do it in other locations on this island as well as neighbor islands. So this gives us kind of that ability to spread far and wide, and training up a few, you know, ambassadors to get out to remote locations and use the software components, irrespective of whether the kids are actually on the software. Everything in that system is downloadable as paper. So that's kind of our goal right now, and I think it's a good one. So if anybody wants to join that hui, we'll be, I guess, reconvening soon.
Fantastic. So Steve, are you doing this all online because of this, or what is happening?
No, well, so yeah, I think the hui meetings will have to be online, I'm guessing, right? They're gonna have to be Zoom meetings, but the actual curriculum and product, everything we're doing in curriculum space now is mirrored. So we firmly believe that we have to be synchronous and asynchronous. You know, we have to be online and able to go into a classroom, and we have to be able to deliver online as well as in print. So there's just a certain number of kids that won't be able to, you know, get online. They don't have smartphones. And just from the point of view of what we're doing in the learning management space, our platform is 100% useful on mobile devices, which is the usability for mobile is ginormous. It's like, even in the most challenged demographics, it's 93% remote coverage, and that's really good because, you know, cell phones can work analog, so you don't have to have wired bandwidth versus like if you're on a desktop. So we do have a number of mirrored delivery devices built into the system.
Great.
Ian, this is Jeannie. May I ask some questions?
Yes, yes.
So, you know, I'm part of WDC staff, and I've got responsibilities as to making sure that we're compliant with the federal program. So I just want to remind you that it's entrepreneurial skills training. So the outcome has to show what kind of skills that the participants, what outcome you're trying to achieve and what skills they'll be learning through the program. So I would encourage you to put a lot of focus onto the skills, right? Whether it's marketing, whether it's business plans, whether it's running and managing a business, communication, networking, those kinds of business skills that would be needed. And the reason we're focusing in on this is because the reason this entrepreneurial skills training is on the youth program is because a lot of youth come from rural or remote locations where employers will not move into. So then they will need to find a niche business where they live if they want to stay where they are. And so in order to do that, they need to know these skills for future success. So keep that in mind. That's one of the reasons it's on the list. And the youth program has 14 required elements that we must offer to all of the participants. And this is one of the 14.
Jeannie, can I ask you, is there any particular standards alignment that is used to measure these types of skills?
So I think that's something that you might want to look into, that what standards others are using, because there are a few. You can be creative, but there should be some match, right, to what businesses, what you actually need to learn to run a business.
Okay, appreciate that.
Yeah, there's some national standards out there, not saying that you need to do all of them, but you should have a reference.
Okay, great.
Any other questions for Steve? Steve, you should take a look at the Employment Engagement Committee. There's an entrepreneurial component as part of their work. So hope you can connect with those folks.
And I hope that you're considering neighbor islands really soon, because we've been asked for more training, and there are not enough providers of the skills training, the entrepreneurial skills training.
So if you guys have any referrals for things like employer engagement or islands, just send them to me and I will definitely get them aboard this initiative, and we'll figure out how to spider out to them.
Okay, great.
Thank you for that.
Duke, if you can connect Steve to the chairs of the Employer Engagement Committee.
I will do that.
Yeah, just so they're aware of what we're doing on the youth side, so maybe they can leverage some of our work that's happening. Okay, great. Ace, let me see who, maybe Stacy, you guys want to, and Josiah, share about the our trauma-informed committee group? Oh, you're muted, Stace.
I was just asking Josiah if he wants to do the overview or me. Me? Okay. All right. So I'm just going to take a step back because I know there's some new folks on the call. So back in 2019, Kinaiha brought a bill to the legislature and was seeking the DOE to institute trauma-informed, trauma-sensitive systems of support for all students across the DOE, and really trying to target our most vulnerable students. So students that have chronic absenteeism, homelessness, other types of vulnerabilities, abuse of all kinds. And with that bill, it was enacted into law. And so in 2020, we spent the last year working very closely with other community organizations, mental health care entities, and the DOE. And so basically, we've put together a plan of a multi-tiered system of support to ensure that trauma-informed care and assessments are going to be provided to all students. We're starting with a pilot complex, which is Kailua Kalaheo, which is interesting because it kind of shows a dichotomy of those who are two different socioeconomic groups, right? We have homesteaders and Waimanalo, and then you have the higher socioeconomic group over in Kailua. So it's going to be a really interesting pilot. But the work that we have here for the Workforce Development Committee is how can we extend this work that we're doing with the DOE for those youth that are going to, unfortunately, and hopefully with Act 217 and this new support put in place, we'll have less dropouts and less students being suspended. But we need a safety net. And we know that places like Alulike and the programs like Kinaiha and Job Corps and others are those safety nets out in the community. And they help to provide workforce training. And so with this initiative, we'd like to extend the learnings that we're getting from Act 271 around trauma-informed care, trauma-sensitive staff training for community groups that are providing workforce development training for our youth. We're also looking at doing early intervention trauma screening, and we've had many, many conversations with the DOE on what is the appropriate type of trauma screening, because we don't want to re-traumatize our youth when they come in our doors. And so we're honing in on what types of screening are most appropriate. And so we're hoping to implement that through this pilot. And then also looking at what is the aftercare process. So it's one thing to intake them, to help get an assessment done so we can diagnose whether they have learning differences, if they have mental health issues. Because for us, there's two things that we really want to accomplish. One is we want to put our youth in the right places. We don't want to just put them in jobs that they're going to stay for 2 weeks, because from the employer perspective, there's a high cost for training and recruiting, and then they don't stay. And so it's not just about getting kids in jobs, it's really about making sure that there's a right fit. But the right fit comes with really understanding and knowing who we have coming in through our doors and how they learn, how do they work best, what are their strengths. And so the second part of that is, how are we changing the narrative? How is the workforce development community, how are we changing the narrative on deficits, learning differences, mental illness? How do we flip that narrative to talk about it as strengths? How do we best prepare our youth to go out into the workforce and be able to sell their strengths and be able to employ them in a way that has longevity? Because ultimately we want them to be able to find employment, jobs that are purposeful and meaningful to them, that fill their passion and their purpose, and then be able to provide for themselves and their families. The aftercare process, Josiah and I just met with Department of Health yesterday, CAMHD, and that's the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Division for Department of Health. And they just got awarded $11.5 million, Josiah? Something big like that. And so Kinaiha has been brought in as a preferred community partner. And so we mentioned this work that we're doing with you folks. And so what we would like to do is, when we get more information, we'd like to create some kind of synergy for the aftercare that Department of Health can provide to entities like Kinaiha, Alulike, and others. Because once we get them diagnosed, we have to have safety nets in place. So while they're being employed and getting job skills and all of that, we have to make sure on the back end, they're getting the mental health care that they need and other resources to stabilize and provide security for them while they're employed. Because we want to, once they get employed, we want to keep them there. And then Josiah, can you just share a little bit about how the scope isn't changing, but the scale of vulnerable population has changed with COVID?
You guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
So, a lot has changed. As Mark said earlier, a lot has changed since our last meeting when we all met. Our unemployed population is a lot larger than it was before. So the scale of what we're doing has to be a lot larger. For our group of youth we really work with, they're used to this COVID life. That's how they lived before. We know now what is COVID. That was their normalcy of living. People didn't want to hug them. People always social distance. They didn't know where they're going to find toilet paper, right? We all had that scare at Costco's and stuff. So they lived that lifestyle. Now we've just added a lot more people to that demographic of youth. So there's a lot of youth that know how it feels to be like our kids or our young men and women. So now it's how do we best scale this, to help out, because we did great amount of money that we didn't plan here. Yeah, that $120,000, but to what the unemployment rate is and the scare that's going on, really, if we don't figure out how we can connect it with COVID, and how do we plan to have longevity with these programs if they say there's not going to be no more funding unless it's connected to COVID. And that's what it seems like the state and the city and everybody's going to, is we're not going to fund anything unless it has a COVID, relation. So how can we kind of get some of these, initiatives that we're doing to also connect with this COVID scare that we're going through right now? And that's just something that we've been, trying to work with, and hopefully we can connect in the CAMHD so that funding can, really help push what we're trying to do here, with workforce development, and actually connect everyone together. Because I think I found that that's the hardest thing, which been the silver lining in the COVID, is where actually people are connecting now. Which before, one state entity doesn't talk to the other, and they might be on the next door. So now we can, kind of use this time to really gather together the partnerships and the networking for us to really push it. So that's something that we're going to look as we start meeting in our committee, for the trauma-informed assessment side, is how can we also relate this to COVID, because now that is a trauma, right? Before it was just drinking, before it was abuse, it was, drug use, it was just those things that we're used to. But now there's another line item called COVID-19. So that's something that we can also, try to work into our assessments of where, have you been affected by COVID? Somebody in your family affected by COVID? And then maybe we can also attach that to the tracking, right? Using our, questionnaire to be a part of, have you been in contact with someone with COVID? Have, someone in your family has COVID? And help that with the contact tracing that's going on also, and get workforce development, our council to get into that CARES, act area of helping us, help them, help everyone, help each other. So.
And
okay,
just
so
in terms of timeline, I know that we initially had sent around a sign-up sheet, but it looks like the membership has grown a little bit, and people's schedules may have changed in the last 6 months. So if okay, Ian and Mark, what I'll do, and Winona, we'll send out an email to the group, and if folks can respond back, because maybe that composition will change. And then Josiah and I will start putting out a schedule for our meetings.
So this is Jeannie. I'm still a little confused as to what exactly the $40,000 is going to be used for. The
So it's
budgeted 40,000.
Yes, it's going to be a pilot for a small group of youth. We're hoping that we can work with Alulike or one of the other workforce development, either agencies or programs out in the community. And one, we need to provide staff training, because, so like, I'm just going to use Alulike if that's okay, Winona. So we want to ensure that Alulike staff has trauma-informed, trauma-sensitive training. So we can't expect them to provide a trauma screening if they're not even ma'a to what trauma is, or what trauma-informed means, or what being trauma-sensitive looks like, and how that plays out in the workforce development arena. So we need to do training for the providers, and then the early intervention trauma screening, that would actually be paying providers to administer the trauma screenings and the reports that go along with the screenings. And then in terms of aftercare process, the aftercare process, I don't know if there's going to be a cost associated with that yet. Again, now that we have this working relationship with DOH and CAMHD, the hope is that, through Medicaid or other forms of payment or reimbursement, that won't have to be paid out through this process. But the other two, staff training and early intervention trauma screening, will most likely take up most of the dollars. And I do have a question in terms of procuring. So what entity is going to get the money? And then or is it going to stay with the Workforce Development Council and you folks will procure whatever we need? Like what's the process for that?
I don't know, because I'm not really understanding where the funds are going to. Are you going to do program evaluation? Are you,
so staff
how
training,
much?
So staff training we would hire consultants or a trainer. So we would have to identify who that consultant or trainer would be, and then we would have to procure their services, right? And then for the trauma screening and reports, it's going to be probably a psychologist or somebody who's trained in trauma screening. So we're going to have to procure their services. So they could be a medical doctor or mental health practitioner. It could be an entity, it could be an individual.
Hey, Stacy or Ian, I would recommend, and we did this with Steve, a month after the last meeting we had as a committee. We got together with Steve on a separate teleconference call, and he really went into the weeds, more or less, just kind of putting more meat to what the concept was for the entrepreneurial skills training for youth. So what I'm suggesting, because the trauma-informed assessment is, for me as a workforce development professional, it's a new area, and trying to see how it weaves in and meets the federal requirements of our funding. I recommend that we have another separate meeting with Allison, myself, and Jeannie, and Ian, if he wants to join in at a future date, Stacy and Josiah, and really kind of understand better in detail where we're going with this and where the fund is going with this, because I think we don't have enough time on this meeting. Would you guys be open to that?
For sure.
So,
because I think Steve saw that meeting as very helpful when he gave us the rundown.
Duke, I want to also stress that it's already a requirement of our programs that we take into account retention with the employer as one of the factors. So we can't say, well, now this is going to include that, because it's already a requirement in our youth program that we look at retention. So so when you look at that, just know that that's already built into the program.
So Stacy and Josiah, I'll get in touch with you folks. I'll schedule a huddle with Allison and Jeannie and myself. And how's that sound? Sound like a plan?
And I think Ian and Winona are ma'a to this conversation. So if they want to join too.
Sure.
I think they're very aware of how this would weave into workforce development.
And even Jeannie's comment about the employee retention metric, it makes, it's like, of course, but then at the same time I'm thinking, well, this is youth, so how many of these youth are actually working?
Right.
And so is that a metric, or what is?
Yes, we have. So it's 1 year, right? It includes 1 year after. So they could either be earning a credential, or they can be working. So it's after exit.
Okay.
So yeah, it's after, because that's the whole point of all of our work, right? Either to get them credentialed, like a post-secondary credential, or to get them a job.
Get them a job. Right. And then at that point, it's like, what is the retention? Okay, got it.
Hey, Stacey, even at some point, if you want to reel me in, because a lot of my experience also is kids aging out of foster care. That's the majority of my experience. It's them transitioning into programs and aging out. So yeah, just let me know.
I would love that, Danny. Yes, for sure.
That'd be awesome, Danny.
And that's one of the target groups for the youth program.
Yeah.
Great. Any questions or comments for Josiah or Stacy?
In Mark, I placed the link in the chat, so if you guys want to download our plan, then the other groups could probably just like razor blade it and work from that.
Thank you.
Perfect. Hey, thanks, Steve. Thank you. Okay. Nisa.
Hi.
How's it? Can you share for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, with the AJCH's Youth Service Center, during this time of COVID, it's been a trial and error. I think we finally got it going on. I did acquire another classroom space to make sure that we have social distancing. And funny, during this time though, have gotten more enrollments. I mean, I've seen in this past 6 months. It's kind of strange, but my youth that are enrolling are on a constant weekly basis. So I did we were able to buy laptops, and I purchased hotspots, so getting prepared just in case there's another shutdown. At least we can do their essential education, so their diplomas online. And then, yes, I've been working with Steve. Steve came to our office a few times. We talked about the entrepreneurial, how we're going to collaborate. He did talk to two of my supervisors with our youth program. But as far as the work experience, I think, I would like to see currently under our youth programs, we do have work experience. That's part of their program. Besides getting education, training, occupational training, they do work experience, and the ultimate goal is for them to be employed. That's the career pathway we steer them in. But I think for our work experience, I'd like to utilize the monies to possibly extend it. Or sometimes the youth here, they're youth. They sometimes they say, oh yeah, I want to do construction. Oh, construction wasn't for them, so they want to do food service, or they want to go into healthcare. It's a constant change. So I'd like to extend our work experience. Extend the 6-week work experience. Who knows? They might want to change the place of the work experience. They don't like to do that. So I'm looking to utilize the $30,000 as a stipend for them to that we pay them for work experience. And then also we've been working with HCC and KCC, who does our customer service now. So we're trying to work with them to implement on top of the trainings that they provide us, whether it's healthcare, food service, customer service. We'd like to add on a piece. We haven't come up with the name yet. We're still in the works with that, but it's like a sanitation part of the certificate that they will be getting from either HCC or KTC, to implement that, because nowadays when you go and get employed, you see people wiping, you have to know about all these cleaning products, and so we want to add that piece to their training, and actually to be certified in it, so that they can go to a job and say, hey, I know everything about these cleaners. I know how to sanitize. I know about PPE, and that's just like an added piece onto their training. So we're in the works right now with the 2 community colleges, which it looks like it's moving right along with that. And then that's basically it on my part. So work experience. And we've been doing working with the chamber on virtual job openings. Like we bought a lot of Zoom accounts, so our youth Zoom in, and then we have like an employer who highlights something. I think it's every other Fridays, a job position. And then the kids all Zoom in, and then they can see virtually what this position entails, what does it pay. We have that a person that represents the company, so it's been awesome. We had an ice cream shop 2 weeks ago, which was pretty cool, and so everything is going virtual now, so it's just trying to get used to. I'm getting used to it. The kids love it, but so it's been actually moving quite along here at the HACH, and that's my my insight for the work experience and post-secondary education and training.
So this is Jeannie again.
Hi, Jeannie.
Hi. So this work experience funds, the $30,000, it's going to be spent all on Oahu?
I'm open to working with our neighbor island.
So I guess that's, I think that needs to be fleshed out a little bit more, because the board is a statewide entity. So I mean, all of the work so far has been aimed at Oahu. And to me, that's concerning. I'd like to see a broader view for all of our workforce development areas. Yeah. And, you know, for work experience, we have the 20% minimum of all youth funds have to be spent on work experience. And, you know, we're below that. And looks like we may not make that minimum if we don't do something about it this program year. So I'm thinking that if possible, if we could come up with solutions to the barriers for providing work experience in the current situation, that it would be helpful to everybody. But that's just my suggestion, because if you peel off this 30,000 and spend it all on your work experience, then you still have to make the 20% of the youth program funds that you've got now.
Correct.
So is the 20% money is expended, or what is the 20% based on?
Is on how much that they receive.
Oh, so if you get $10, you got to spend
20% of that
20%
on work experience, paid or unpaid work experience. And they're not going to be flexible on this. States have asked, and because it's statutory, they don't have flexibility. This is not one area that we're going to get a waiver on.
Nisa,
Yes.
Stacy, have you thought about partnering with the adult schools?
Yeah, we partner with the adult schools, so they are doing our essential ed, which is building up for them to do the high set. So we working with Waipahu, Windward, and McKinley and Farrington. So we got two of them. It depends what district you're coming in, that you're gonna be getting it through McKinley and Farrington or Waipahu, Windward.
Yeah, I was just wondering because I imagine many of them are going to need the work experience, as they're getting the GED and high set.
Yeah. Yes.
That would be excellent. Excellent.
Right.
Group.
So the federal funds does pay for that. So if they're already in our youth program and they're also attending adult ed, they would qualify for the work experience funds under WIOA. So, yeah.
All right.
I got a question. So that 20%, I'm just looking at that 20% is that for the $120,000? 20% of it has to be on work experience?
No. Every local area, so every county receives a youth program formula funds every year. It's 20% of the funds that they're allocated must be spent on work experience. So that's paid or unpaid. So you could find what we encourage is exploration by the youth, right? So work exploration. And if you can find an employer that wants to hire a youth, then the employer could provide that work experience and the wages would be paid by the program, or it could be unpaid. It just depends on how that's worked out.
I just wanted to add something on our trauma-informed side of it. That's where, it's important because we know about the hop around on jobs because kids don't know or the youth don't know what they really like. If we can, get that snapshot inside of them, it really helps. So like if a kid has OCD, they will make a good cleaner, a good janitor. They enjoy that type of work. If they have ADHD, we know already, don't put them in an office. You're really going to waste their time. And that's why our internal assessments have been so important, which not only for schooling, but it transfers over to the workforce development sector where, if you're looking for employment and you want to employ somebody, now they have all different screeners that they're doing, but that's an important screener that we can do to figure out, is this person fit in my office? Is this person fit on my workforce field? you know, and that's where that can also connect with that workforce experience side. So you don't get a lot of hop around, because a lot of the employers out there get upset. You keep on sending me kids that keep on leaving, you know, because I talk with all of them, you know, all the time, you know, like, you know, I cannot keep doing this, you know, to my company. But now if we send someone that is, you know, you know, not a perfect match, but a match that's better than us just sending them there just to check that mark. Because that's one thing about me and my program, you guys will find out, I'm never about checking the marks. I want to get the kids, what the purpose of it is to get them working so they can live and they can eat. And if we do that successfully, the check marks just come secondary, not primarily. And that's where I think our you know, our side of the trauma-informed side can really help the workforce, you know, the experience side. And
so
even
what I encourage you to do, this is Jeannie, what I encourage you to do is in your presentation or your write-up of the trauma-informed program is to think of the various methods by which we may have that assessment done. Could workforce refer to a program so that we don't have to do it ourselves? Would there be a program that we could refer further participants to, which might be better for getting that professional screening that's necessary? Because certainly a lot of the youth programs are not done by our youth programs. They are they have an MOU with different providers to provide that.
And that's where we want to try to get CAMHD involved,
Right.
Because that'll also help out with the foster care side. You know, with those youth, the houseless youth, can really help out with that, and you know, all youth that are part of the state of Hawaii. And that's where we'll try and also be a connector, you know, for that.
Right. So every county has a youth program. So the way that would happen is that that program would have an MOU with whoever the provider is. And so there'd be an agreement as to referrals.
Yeah, perfect. And that's where CAMHD is statewide. So it kind of helps us branch throughout the whole state. And I'm sure they might have MOUs already with the different counties, so that'll help expedite the process. And then also on another note, Nisa, if you guys ever need help on training on the cleaning side, that's what we do with our youth now. And we transfer them, so you can see that, you know, we've been cleaning, COVID cleaning actually, with only, you know, it's a dry fog product. So you don't need to put away your computer systems. You know, when people go in and spray liquid forms on your computers, your paperwork, it's not healthy for electronics. So the dry fog has been a system, and it's not difficult to train the youth. So they already took pathogen, you know, tests and stuff. So that's where our certification is going, and that's someplace where workforce development overall, that's going to be a big place that opened up for a lot of people that are unemployed. Will be inside of that, and we're doing the janitorial certs. So our youth are getting the, you know, janitorial basic certs, professional certs. We're also getting, you know, pathogen certs. So that's where we transferred over from construction, mainly construction. We're moving over to that because you can't do any construction work if you don't have a clean, safe area, or if they lock down the state. So we transferred into that, and we've done a bunch of churches, schools, the prisons. I got a contract with the prisons. We're doing the prisons now. So the transfer is from prisoner to prisoner. It's not from the facility to the prisoner, just so you guys know, because the fall treatment has a 90-day stay time.
So Josiah, we need to connect, because I'm on another grant. We might be able to work together. It's a different grant, so.
And the kids are actually working it. They're suiting up, they're going out, we're getting them their respirator certifications. So we can help out with that side too, for the work experience, and get them out there and working already for that. So.
Yep.
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah, when I heard Nisa talking, I kept thinking of Josiah. Okay, good. Other comments, thoughts? We're getting down to our time at the end here. So how about some announcements? Any announcements? David, Troy, Danny, Lois?
Well,
Anybody?
Ian, I'll just share. So the Hawaii Association for Career and Technical Education, we actually have a annual conference, which we include all the post-secondary, secondary schools, WDC industry folks. And of course, we are not going to have a physical conference next year. So what we're doing instead is to look at webinars that we are going to be hosting. And so right now we're in the process of trying to get issues, topics, speakers, pool that together, but the information would be directly for teachers, especially with the technology, the distance learning, the homeschooling type of, with parents working and they're not an educator, and what do they do? Or if they are going to be working, what's the childcare situation going to look like? So I just want to put that out there, and then I'll send you a separate email and a link to our association president. So they're really opening it up, and it's probably going to be once, maybe twice a month, as far as the webinars.
Okay.
Lois, starting when?
Well, they wanted to do it this fall, and they've already gotten some input directly from educators. But I'm thinking that this group, I mean, a wealth of information that I'm just learning. This is my first meeting. And so I'm kind of just thinking that it would be also to share some of the tangible things that the youth services group has, and your experience as far as, being a guest speaker or giving a presentation or what have you.
Great. Well, yeah, you got a lot of folks on this call who could probably support you on that. They'd be great speakers.
I know we're a little over time, so I'll make this real quick. This is the 30-second tweet. But, as my friend Ka'ala knows, doing a lot of work around digital equity. There's a big job piece on that, because the longer this all drags on, the harder it is for folks to get connected on a range of things, from learning to employment to even the fact that a lot of job applications require an email address, right? There's a lot of connected dots to that. So anybody who wants to talk story about that, happy to set up another time, and I think it intersects with a lot of this stuff. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, David. Anyone else? Anything to share? Troy or Danny or Aaron? I don't know if Aaron's still on the line.
I can share. So the DOE, or our office, the CTE state office for the DOE, we're rolling out 13 new pathways, CTE pathways, and we're going to be looking for people to sit on our pathway advisory councils to advise us on the different pathways. So we might be reaching out to the group to see if anybody is interested. So this school year, we are rolling out law and public safety, education, engineering and architecture, health services, and building and construction, and transportation services. So we're actually going to be starting and rolling out 6 pathways to start in next school year. So we're vetting standards and doing all the good stuff and getting feedback from industry. So we might be reaching out to the group if anybody's interested in sitting on a pathway advisory council.
Troy, I had a question. Now that we're in this pandemic, from the state side, we're looking at resilience industries such as energy and ag. And I didn't hear that. So that's
the following year. So 21-22, we're going to be rolling out advanced manufacturing, engineering, IT, ag, and business. And then the following year, 22-23, is hospitality, tourism, and cultural arts and media and entertainment. And those, I think, are the last at the end. We strategically put it at the end because it's being effective so, right now because of COVID. So we wanted to see how the industry might change or react to our current situation. So the rollout for those is kind of towards the end, but then like I said, the new ones coming out next school year, we are rolling out those ones that you just mentioned.
Might I recommend that energy actually be one of those? I didn't hear it called out specifically, but
we don't have all the standards and everything yet. They're still being developed, this school year. So we don't have standards for everything yet. So we have contracted someone to help us, write the standards and everything. So we can't roll everything out, as early as we want to because standards aren't available. But energy is, we want to align with the governor's initiative for sustainability and everything. So,
mahalo.
Yeah.
Are employers going to be on the council?
Yeah, so I mean, we're looking at industry, post-secondary, possibly some principals might sit on the pathway advisory councils, but we're going to be sending out, if people are interested, these are the ones that we are rolling out soon, and then this is what's coming up.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Troy. Anyone else?
I'll go. Actually, can I get Jeannie your email, because I want to CC you on our next HUI communication, if you don't mind. Maybe put it in the chat. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Cool. Thank
put it
you.
in the chat, Jeannie.
Troy, very interesting. I'm definitely down to help out on some committee, so happy to help there.
Steve would be perfect for business. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever you like. I'll do anything. I'll with the garbage committee. That's me. So in terms of some updates from our side, we're just finishing an SEO literacy curriculum for James Campbell, but they're going to share that with the rest of DOE. So we're pretty stoked about that, because search engine optimization is a great way to discipline really direct and useful findable writing. So that's all good. Busy Bee, our online LMS, is doing super good. We're just going nuts right now, obviously, with everything going remote. But the latest pivot for that product has been that we're really concentrating on enriching the online experience for curriculum, because it's a lot of the big hits against going online are that it's just not very engaging and really boring. And so we've managed to integrate a ton of video and all kinds of fun upload stuff, and collaborative journaling, and very strong process now. And we've got nonprofits that are bringing on whole curriculum sets to this platform. So we're going to be, all our entrepreneur stuff is going on it as well, obviously. We just finished with STEMworks a whole set of UN strategic development goal projects on that platform, which is pretty cool, because kids are writing curriculum for other kids. And for Student Voice, that's epic. And the kids did amazingly well. We're also embroiled right now on building a volunteerism service hours logging tracking app for Punahou School. So that will go live in about 2 months. That's looking really strong as well. Creative Space down at the Entrepreneur Sandbox, we got awarded the contract to operate that facility. So we're going deep into videographic production. So if anybody wants to do video production for our distance learning, I think that's something that I would be very interested in bringing to that space. We are definitely working into the enriched media space for career pathways as well. So one of our charges with taking that space over is to wind up the film, TV, and music production community. And then obviously creating career pathways for kids into that. Our first program in Creative Space is we're producing a movie documentary called Shaka the Movie. And so Henry Capono's foundation just signed on to co-produce it with us. We're doing a democratized version of film and music soundtrack production. So we can involve literally hundreds of people from Hawaii telling the story of the Shaka, which is really only like 90 years old, and it all happened on this island pretty much. So we've already got out and got some really epic interviews from Kapuna in Laie. So we're really excited with these opportunities. And, these are the kind of things that to me they're so enriching and so vivacious that it's like, why wouldn't you want to go learn something? So, you know, to me, the more the merrier. If anybody has interest in any of these types of projects, ping me, because like we're ready to rock and roll.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. Thank you. Anyone else before I kind of throw it back to Duke and Allison? Anyone? Because I saw Allison here with us, our executive director. All right, last words from Allison and Duke. Hope you're muted.
Sorry about that. Our next scheduled virtual meeting is October 20th. Same time, same platform. And Stacy, Josiah, I'll get in touch. I'll reach out to you about a separate meeting with WDC staff. Thanks for the links, Steve. And I'll get in touch with the team leaders as required to ensure that we don't lose the momentum and we're going forward, because if there's some questions and issues, things that you need to know as far as parameters and the framework of what's required and we owe us regulations, that I owe you that information to make sure you're on track. That's all I have.
Thank you, Duke. Allison?
This is a great committee. You know, I'm sorry I haven't joined in the last, I don't know, half a year, but it's really grown and progressing. So the projects that you have are very exciting, but I will echo what Jeannie said earlier. We are looking at it being a statewide. And so your projects are pilots that can be used at the other county levels. And so you might want to relook at your budgets as well. Like Stacy, if we wanted to hire, you know, the trainer and the trauma screener, I don't think $40,000 is going to be enough for that. So, but looking to set up the infrastructure and being able to create it on each of the islands. Same with Steve, right? Your projects, yeah, you have a good infrastructure already, but definitely needing to make sure that the other counties can also benefit from your good projects. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Allison. Any last thoughts, comments before we adjourn? We're a little bit over time, but no. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Take care, be safe, social distance, wear your mask, drink lots of water, take care, take your vitamins. And we'll see you on October 20th for at least the next meeting, and then the Huis will get together earlier than that. So mahalos, everybody. Take care. Aloha. Take
Aloha,
care.
everybody.
Take care. Mahalos. Thank you so much, everybody.
I was going to jump in and talk, Ian, but I know that I need at least 30 minutes, so I'm just kidding.
Thanks,
I'm out.
Kyle.
I'll see you on Winona later. Aloha.
Yeah.